Hello and welcome to a brand new episode. Firstly, I really hope you and your loved ones are safe and healthy. Please take care of yourselves, wear a mask, stay at home, wash and sanitize your hands often, and try to meditate to feel a little grateful and positive. So, I have always wanted to talk about climate change, and believe me, I've made sheets and sheets of notes on how I can simplify everything related to climate change. And then I come across this 25-year-old who's spending all his time in Wanderlust to explore the world and work for climate change. Joining me today is Akash Ranisan, climate activist and responsible traveler, and we are talking about climate change and his newly launched ebook, Climate Change Explained. This is Ethically Yours, a podcast to simplify sustainability, and I'm your host, Darshana. So, your website says that you have covered almost 80,000 kilometers of travel, of which you have walked 8,000 kilometers, you have cycled around 20,000 kilometers, and you have hitchhiked 50,000 kilometers. So, firstly, that is a lot of travel. And while it is a dream of many, over the years, you have used these travels not just for the sake of wanderlust, but also to create awareness on climate change. So tell us, how did this happen? And when was the first time you really felt the climate crisis and the need to advocate change?
So how it all happened, I think it, this was something that I wanted to do from the childhood, but I didn't know this way. This is what I wanted to do. In what way I knew? I wanted to cycle. This is I knew. I wanted to wear good shoes. This is what I knew. And because of my family, while I was in school only, I got this chance to travel into train for longer journeys of, let's say, up to 24 hours in one go. So this got me the feeling of being in a train. And then because of my parents switching from one city to another, that got me the opportunity to experience that how one city is different from the another one, and how living in mountains and in a city where there's a river flowing by feels like. And now with these feelings again, I got back to my city where I was born, Indore, Madhya Pradesh. 2014 was the time when I finally could manage to get my hands on a cycle which I bought by myself. That's when my journey started. For the first time I went on a trip, and that was from Indore to Bombay on a cycle. This was somewhere about I think hundred kilometer, five and a half hundred kilometers, and this took me I think somewhere about 5 days. From there I begin. For the first time, I think this was the time when I experienced what it means to be alone and to be in wild and to be like out there under the sky for the whole time and living out there in the adventure between unknown people. This is where the journey started, and from then on I kept traveling, as you said, cycling, walking, hitchhiking, and different various ways. Now while traveling for 1 or 2 years, I got this chance to visit the Himalayan region in India. While traveling in mountain areas, I saw that obviously we have all been seeing plastic here and there, but this time when I saw plastic, I felt a little different. I thought that, hey, can I do anything to fight with this problem? And not really fight, just can I do something about it? Though I wasn't an activist at that point of time. But that one thought got me learning about plastic. While learning about plastic, I discovered this bigger problem, which is a crisis today, is climate change. And that got me hooked up. That, okay, if there's something so big on our head, how can we just roam around so freely? How can we not do something to solve it? And that got me into the shoes of a climate change activist.
So I just want to ask you that you're barely 25, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So for a 25-year-old to basically understand what climate change is, or the fact that you need to do something about it, how did that basically happen? I mean, were you exposed to this kind of information, or was it that the remnants of plastic that you noticed in these exotic areas of our country. Did that make you want to do more research, or how did that initial phase of actually realizing that climate change is real, how did that transition happen for you?
So I would say that understanding climate change and feeling being threatened, or this is one side of it. Understanding climate change and feeling being threatened by it. Wherein the other side is that I don't know what is the risk, but I know there is some risk on something I love. So here, I'm not really a climate change activist. Activist. This is the name which people have given me to the work I do. That is why I am known as a climate change activist. But if you really ask me who I am someone who is in love. I'm in love with the nature. I'm in love with life, and this is who I am. And I'm just trying to save what I love. I love nature. I want to save it. I love life. I want to save it. And how did this come to me? There are three people I follow and I really love them a lot, and they got me into this thing. Who are these three people? First, Swami Vivekananda. He's the one who gave me the life. He's the one who made me who I am on a bigger scale. Then, second one is Bhagat Singh. He's the one who taught me that how to fight for your things. If you really love something, stand for it, raise your voice, and fight for it. And third and last is Dalai Lama. He's the one from whom I learned what it means when we say compassion and how important it is. More than money, there is something which is more important to us, and that is love, compassion, and kindness. So these are the three people I think who are my base core, and they make me the person I am. And now, if you see, Swami Vivekananda, Bhagat Singh, and Dalai Lama, I ended up loving my space, which is the earth. Again, I'm not saying that I love India. I'm saying I love the earth itself. Because as a traveler, you also get the freedom that no, earth is my place, not only India. I don't want to travel to India. I want to go everywhere. And climate change, obviously, it's a global crisis. And this got me caring that I want to care about the earth. I want to do whatever I can do to save it. So this was the core feeling. But now this core feeling made me feel that hey, I want to do something about the problem of plastic. I thought, okay, let me just go to internet and see what is this problem is. Plastic got me learning more and more. There I found this term called climate change because plastic contributes to plastic comes from fossil fuel, crude oil, that is carbon emission and other gas greenhouse emissions, and it is let's say spoiling our oceans, and it is spoiling our lands and everywhere. So this got me to learn more about climate change, and when I learn more and more about climate change, I keep unfolding more and more pages, such as going vegan, such as textile, such as plastic waste, such as taking longer flights and everything. And this got me to change everything I do in my life.
That's really commendable, Akash. I really love the fact that the three idols that you mentioned have no direct correlation to climate change. But the fact that their learnings are so um, life learnings, the fact that you said that Dalai Lama taught you compassion, and the fact that you said that um, it's for the love that you're doing this is, I think, absolutely beautiful. And I really haven't come across such a pure feeling in a long time. So firstly, congratulations for that. I think it's really reassuring that people of your age and even younger audiences now is becoming a little more aware and also responsible towards their action, and also to do more as a way of taking care of their home, which is planet Earth. On the same lines, I mean, we are of course doing this conversation also to understand what you do, but also to congratulate on publishing your first ebook, which is on climate change as well. And I have to appreciate how beautifully you've been able to simplify these seemingly difficult concepts like, greenhouse gases, carbon footprint, carbon offsetting, carbon neutrality, etc. And I'm particularly excited to see the Indian reference that you've added to this book. We generally get the data which is typically global or maybe relevant to other parts of the world and not so much to India. So while you are making climate change as an everyday and a very interesting and simplified topic for people to understand, I think this aspect of the book is also equally interesting. So Tell us about this book. What are you covering? Who is this book for, and why did you even feel the need to come up with something like this?
As I said, like I'm not really a climate change guy at the end of it all. If really we go under the layers, we see I'm just a guy who love nature. So, and also talking about a little of my education background, I somehow managed to complete my schooling. I never went to any institute, any kind of institute, college, university once I completed my schooling. And even while in school, I wasn't performing well. Almost in each and every class, I had either a supplementary or either a fail result itself. Then, how did it happen that I got into climate change? Because the driving force, which is love, that got me into it. Again, then what are my skills? I feel my skill sets more are on the side of creative person, which is communicating or storytelling in different ways. That could be images, that could be video, that could be audio, or whatever way we prefer. So here I'm playing a role of a communicator. I love nature, so I understood how it works, which is the ecosystem, how it functions, which is more into the technical language, the same thing which people were teaching me while I was in school, but that's way too boring. If it was entertaining or if it was easy to consume, today everyone around the world would have knew what is greenhouse effect, how it works, and we would be able to stop climate change. And forget about stopping it, it won't even start. So then, what is the problem? That the written things, like the way we talk about science, climate change, is way too scientific, way too technical terms. People don't understand it. So here, as a communicator, what I'm doing, as a storyteller, what I'm doing, understanding the difficult side, difficult story, and then presenting that into a very easy, understandable way for everyone. Now, this everyone could be anyone, a college kid, a school kid, or a dadaji or a dadiji. Anyone can be this person reading it, or even a guitarist or a blue collar or a white collar office goer person. Anyone can read this book and understand. I have tried to keep it as crisp as I can. If you actually see, there's only 20 pages of content. It is 50 pages in the book because of the illustrations and the infographics and designs we have kept around it to keep it entertaining, to keep it colorful. Also, the color scheme we have used in the book is more on the side of the positive side and the negative side. So red is where it's going hot and green is where it's right balanced. So we have took care of everything, that how we can bring climate change in very simple, easy language, in short content, in simple language with very basic simple examples, so that everyone can understand, and also with in relation to the Indian context, because then people will be able to feel that this is happening to us. Otherwise, mostly people think climate change is a problem in future, and I have no personal one-on-one connection to this problem. It's on global scale. Government has to do something, companies has to do something with it, or US has to do something with it. And if it comes, it'll come in Bangladesh or it'll come in South Africa, not in India. So this is what I'm trying to explain people, that no, we are the one who are part of it, not on a larger scale, but yeah, we are a part of it. Larger scale are the industries, but we will have to raise our voices to bring the change in the space, right? If we want to change our government, we will have to raise the voice. If we want to change the policies of the country, it's our country. I know we have elected a leader, but at the end of it all, this is our country, and we cannot demand something until the point we believe into it and we practice it every day. So with this book, I am trying to reach out to single individual people so that they can understand there is a crisis in very simple language, and then they can demand the changes from the leaders of the country.
Nice. I think this is very important. I mean, this was going to be my point later in our conversation as well, that I think a lot of us tend to wait for, bigger countries and corporations to sort of take the lead. And a lot of us also feel that it is not my problem somehow. So, what is that one concept related to climate change that you think that every individual should know? So, um, carbon footprint, I think let's talk about carbon footprint, because each individual is generating some amount of carbon footprint with their everyday habits, and a lot of us don't even know that or even recognize that. So can you maybe help us simplify and define what carbon footprint is? And what are some of the everyday things that we do, maybe living in urban cities, which is a considerable generator for carbon footprint?
Okay. So before we begin, one very basic, simple thing everyone needs to know. There is one word everyone has to keep there in their mind whenever we talk about anything in life. Anything. I'm not talking about climate change, anything. That one word is balance. Anything and everything, balance should be there. Now, how balance comes in picture when we talk about climate change? And to be precise, carbon footprints. Carbon emitting or releasing carbon is not a new thing. We breathe out. Whenever we breathe out, we are releasing carbon out there in the atmosphere, right? Whatever we do, everything in a way does create carbon emission. So it's not a problem. It's not a problem. Problem is when you start doing it out of the limit, when you start disturbing the balance, when you go out of the balance, then it's a problem. Let me put it in a very simple example so that everyone can understand. Imagine you are earning 50,000 rupees per month and you are spending 50,000 rupees per month. This is a very balanced thing that, okay, you get 50,000 in your account, you're gonna divide these 50,000 into different ways. And mostly we believe if you're very sensible, you'll at least save 20 or 15 percentage of this 50,000 rupees as a saving for future, so that you are on the safer side, which means if every year we are emitting 50 tons of carbon emission, the country should be taking care of the carbon offsetting as well. That let's say we are planting more trees, or we already have enough trees which are enough to offset this much of carbon, right? But here, hold on. This is an ideal situation, which is not our or the world situation currently. Currently, the situation is that we are spending easily 50 tons of carbon emission every year, which is a rough number. It's not a real number, just for clarification. 50 tons we are emitting, but we are not able, or we are not ready to even offset half of it. Forget half of it, we are not even able to offset 10% of it. And then we are not taking any step towards filling in that gap by planting more trees or anything. Even instead, what are we doing? We are going for deforestation. We are cutting down more and more forest, which is a carbon sink, the place where which can offset our carbon footprints. Also, the other thing, which is our ocean, the world's biggest carbon sink ever, we are also destroying it. We are killing the life in the ocean, and the life keeps the ocean alive. And we are killing the life and also the ocean itself by dumping 8 million metric tons of plastic every year in the ocean, right? So now I explained you how much carbon are we emitting, but in return to that, what are we doing? Now, practical on one-on-one steps, how do we emit carbon? By breathing. Whenever we breathe out, we emit carbon. Now let's say whenever we burn fossil fuel could be your, obviously, your petrol, diesel, or any kind of such oils, we emit carbon. And then coal is another way. Now see, almost everything you do, you are using these kind of fossil fuel, because all the kind of electricity, all your devices, even not only running the devices, making the devices is also coming from fossil fuel, because you use energy over there, and energy, electricity, is mostly around the world created by burning coal or fossil fuel. Still very little of portion of electricity is green, which comes from nuclear or air or water, hydro, right? Windmills. So hardly the portion of the electricity comes from a green source. Majorly it comes from a coal industry or a fossil fuel industry. So now whatever you do, whether you're charging your phone, whether you're creating your phone, or whether you're transporting your phone from China to India or wherever, now even if you're running a website, the website is hosted on a server. The server is a actual space at some position, at some place around the world. That place is running on a huge electricity grid, right? So almost everything, your food, when you grow it, you're using a tractor to run over there in the farm. Then once it's grown, you're using that food to transport from one place to another. When you are cooking it, almost everything, even tiny small step, your plastic packaging, plastic is a byproduct of fossil fuel. That's carbon. So carbon is everywhere. You can't see it. It's everywhere. The smoke coming out of your vehicle, that is carbon.
I can really already maybe read some of my listeners' minds. I mean, the kind of sources that you're talking about, carbon emission. I'm sure people wonder, get Gina chhod de. Anything and everything that we are doing is leading to something which is a real problem right now. And I have also personally come across a lot of people saying that, you people just talk about things that are so unreal. How can we stop doing these things? So I know for a fact that all of this can be extremely overwhelming for somebody who has absolutely no idea about what our everyday actions basically lead to, in the larger sense. So I understand that your book is of course catered to people who are new to it, but how do we sort of encourage people to really be more interested in this and take charge of things that they're doing on a day-to-day basis?
Okay. So, first of all, to the people, okay, breathe out and relax. Everything is fine. We can still take care of it. How? Remember the first thing I said in my last answer, which is balance. I know whenever I talk to people about carbon, they be like, okay, तो क्या जीना छोड़ दें? I'm like, no, जीना मत छोड़ो, बैलेंस करो. ओके और उसका टेक्निकल टर्म अराउंड द वर्ल्ड अगर आप सुनोगे, जो यूनाइटेड नेशंस की तरफ से हर किसी को एक गोल दिया गया है, विच इज नेट जीरो. जितना हमने खाया उतना हमने खुद उगाया. जितना वेस्ट हमने जनरेट किया हमारे घर पे से, वो हमने खुद ही कंपोज कर दिया, राइट? तो हमने हमारा खुद का एक यूनिवर्स बना लिया और हमने बाहर को जाने नहीं दिया. नाउ ऑन अ लॉन्गर टर्म यू वुड से कि आकाश, अब मैं अपने घर पे खाना हर बार तो उगा नहीं सकता, और खाना भी कर लिया, चलो एक छोटे से फार्म में अगर मैंने बना भी लिया एक गार्डन जहां पे मैं मेरा खुद का खाना उगा रहा हूं, सो देन व्हाट अबाउट माय क्लोथ्स? वो कैसे मैं खुद बनाऊंगा? व्हाट अबाउट माय फोन? सो अगेन, हाउ डू वी गो नेट जीरो? हम जितना खर्च करते हैं उतना कमाते भी हैं, और हमारे कमाने के सोर्स भी तीन चार हो सकते हैं, और हमारे खर्च करने के सोर्सेज भी तीन चार हो सकते हैं, और बल्कि ज्यादा. दिस इज हाउ इट वर्क्स. कि जब आप पहले तो चीजें खरीद रहे हैं, तब देखने की कोशिश कीजिए कि जहां से आप वो चीजें खरीद रहे हैं, क्या वो खुद नेट जीरो हो सकती हैं क्या, ताकि मेरे सर पे वो कार्बन फुटप्रिंट्स आएंगे ही नहीं, मेरा कार्बन उतना बढ़ेगा ही नहीं. ना हाउ डू वी डू इट? फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर आप सामान खरीदना चाहते हो, लेट्स से ग्रोसरी का, ऑन अ वेरी बेसिक लेवल, विच वी डू, which everyone does every month, which they have to buy their grocery. Very simply, what can you do? For example, मैं क्या करता हूँ, there's a store जहां से मैं बड़े लेवल पे एज इन एक बार में बल्क में सामान खरीद सकता हूँ, और मैं खुद के कैरी बैग्स वहां लेकर के जा सकता हूँ, ताकि मुझे वहां पे प्लास्टिक पैकेजिंग्स नहीं खरीदनी पड़ेंगी, और साथ ही साथ में एक बड़ी लार्जर क्वांटिटी में खरीदने की कोशिश करता हूँ. सो इन दिस केस व्हाट हैपेंस? फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, लार्जर क्वांटिटी में खरीदना, तो छोटे छोटे पैकेट्स मैंने नहीं खरीदे, और एक ऐसी शॉप से खरीदना जो जीरो वेस्ट हो, ताकि मैं खुद का अपना लेट्स से कैरी बैग लेकर के जा सकूं या बॉक्स लेके जा सकूं. सो मैंने प्लास्टिक नहीं खरीदा. अब मैंने सिर्फ वो खरीदा जो एक्चुअली मुझे कंज्यूम करना है, और जो एक्सेस वेस्ट था, विच इज मेजरली द वेस्ट, दैट इज प्लास्टिक, वो मैंने छोड़ दिया. बिकॉज यूजुअली व्हाट हैपेंस, फॉर एग्जांपल, वी बाय लेट्स से टी लीव्स. हम टी खरीदते हैं, घर पे लेके आते हैं, एंड देन दैट्स इट, वेयर वी ओपन इट, पुट इट इनटू द बॉक्स, मेजरली दिस इज व्हाट वी डू, एंड थ्रो अवे द रैपर. सो वो रैपर किसी काम का था नहीं, अगर हम खुद एक बॉक्स थोड़ी दूर के लिए कैरी कर लेते तो. सो ऐसी छोटी छोटी स्टेप्स. अनदर थिंग आई कैन इजिली से, वेरी प्रैक्टिकल एग्जांपल, एक साल में डॉक्टर की तरफ से सजेस्टेड होता है दैट यू मस्ट यूज एटलीस्ट 3 to 4 टूथब्रशेस इन अ ईयर, राइट? 3 to 4 टूथब्रशेस. एंड मैं इजिली एज्यूम कर रहा हूं कि एक बंदा एक इजीली 60 साल के लिए जी रहा है, 1 साल में वो 3 ब्रश भी अगर यूज कर रहा है, तो एक बंदे ने अपनी लाइफ में 180 टूथब्रश यूज कर लिए। 180 टूथब्रश इज ह्यूज अमाउंट। नाउ आई एम इमेजिनिंग एक टूथब्रश मेरा ज्यादा नहीं, बट लेट से 20 ग्राम का है। सो इजीली मैंने 3600 ग्राम प्लास्टिक दुनिया में फेंक दिया, which I could easily replace by a bamboo toothbrush. So this way you can start cutting down your carbon emission. Parallelly, when it comes to क्लोथिंग, ये मेजरली आपका खाना हो गया या आपकी छोटी छोटी एसेसरीज हो गई, या फिर आप अब एक और हम दूसरी बात करें कि हमारा फैशन, व्हाट शुड वी डू अबाउट इट? इन माय केस I try to limit it. I know it's not possible for everyone to stay with limited number of clothes because of the lifestyle. We have different lifestyles. For my case, I only have 4 pairs of clothes, and I do not buy more until I feel that मुझे सही में switch करने की जरूरत है. There are times when good number of brands reach out to me and they be like, we would like to send you free stuff, but again, very humbly, I would tell them, I already have enough. I do not have space to consume more, or I cannot afford to have more. And why do I say I can't afford to have more clothes? I don't have to pay, but I can't afford to have more carbon footprints in my account, and that's why I can't afford your product. So this is what I do, that we have to balance out, and this is how we can cut down our carbon emissions on the first go. And the second go, we can try to indulge ourselves in such activities which can offset the carbon footprints we have anyway have earned, by, let's say, planting more trees, by participating with an NGO which works in the field of offsetting carbon, or another one could be by donating to an NGO which offset carbon footprints. There are various ways you can donate to different NGOs who work in the field of environment, where they can give you a certification as well that yes, this much amount of carbon have been offsetted.
So that's something that I've been doing for a very long time, actually. One thing is that every time I take a flight, I try and offset it by planting trees by one of the similar organizations that you mentioned. And I started this other thing a couple of years ago. So on my birthday, I create this groove of plants. And then I just force basically everybody to gift me plants. And at least through that reason, I do have a lot of people contributing, if not, directly, forcefully. But I think इसमें थोड़ी जबरदस्ती कर दो तो फिर भी चलता है, because it's for the good cause. So great. I think balance is a very important word, like you said, and I think you have fairly simplified all of these actions for everybody as well. I've noticed that you have started a new initiative called Sustainably, and I believe it is dedicated around single use plastic. So, can you tell us a little about that?
So, starting sustainably, my idea was very simple. Sustainably is more on the side of where I create different art installations in India, and all of these art installations are made out of single-use plastic waste, which we generate. And what we do in this project majorly is that we are trying to normalize the word sustainably. Like, what do we want to do? Do it, just can we make it sustainable so that everyone can sustain and we can live in harmony with nature and other living sentient beings. In this, what we do is I go to different places, like for example, last year in 2020 September, I shifted to Uttarakhand, Rishikesh, and I did a project where I created a art installation by the name World's First Single Use Plastic Death Bed. In a year, an Indian on an average ends up wasting 26 kilograms of single use plastic here and there. And what we did, we organized different cleanups where we collected somewhere about over 300 kgs of plastic. But out of that 300 kgs of plastic, we used 26 kg of plastic for creating the art installation. So out of 26 kilograms of plastic, we created three deathbeds. One is single-use plastic bottle. Second is single-use wrappers, the chips wrappers and everything. And third one is the containers. We made three deathbeds, and in front of the deathbeds, we installed a mirror. So whenever someone comes to look at the art, they see themselves. And now, why do they see themselves in the deathbed? Because in a year, a human consumes 250 grams of microplastic. So the idea is the plastic you throw away eventually come back to you. You consume it every day when you drink water or you eat things here and there, and eventually this plastic is taking away your life, is giving you different kind of diseases and degrading your quality of life. So this is how we created this circle, that the plastic you throw come back to you and give you or take away your a life a little by little, and you create your own deathbed by yourself.
That's super deep and super impactful. Are you looking at doing more installations like this in the future? Do you typically sort of collaborate with artists for art installations like these?
No, so I do not really collaborate with anyone. I am the climate change guy. I am the artist because I love doing all of these kind of things. So as I said, I'm not really a climate change activist. I'm this happy guy who love doing happy things, who love loving nature. So I'm roaming around. I'm learning more and more about this planet Earth where we all live, and then I'm enjoying creating these projects where I show my love to nature and send it out. So for me, to out there people, yeah, it does sound like a project. To me, it sounds like a fun thing which I did, expressing my love to the nature, that I created this art installation for river Ganga. And also, yes, I'm looking forward to doing it this year as well. I've been doing it for last 3 years. I don't want to break the chain. I would love to continue it this year again and in the upcoming years.
I'm sure that you're often mistaken for somebody who comes from an affluent family and may not necessarily need to make a living. Seeing the way that you are living your life and traveling everywhere. But I think that the reality is quite opposite. Am I right? Um,
100%. So my mom was to earn 6,500 rupees per month, and she was paying my fee, and she was buying me imarti, the jalebi kind of a mithai which I loved while I was in my childhood. So she was making 6,500 rupees. Out of that, she would pay the rent of the home, bring grocery, pay my school fee, and everything. And then this is how she raised me. I'm a single parent child. Currently also, I don't have a home. All I have is one backpack, and everything is in that backpack. I think this life came with the kind of life I had. My mom went through a hell lot of things, and then the family didn't supported her. She fought a lot to give me this life. From 11th class, I started paying my own fee. The reason I didn't go to college, I loved computer science. I wanted to study computer security and become a computer security kind of a expert, kind of a guy who would work all the day around computers. But then we did not have money to pay the college fee for 4 years, and that's why I didn't go to college. But then Swami Vivekananda was there. I didn't have the money, but I had the life which I had to live. And because of that, I could learn that what it means to give away your time in exchange of money. And that's where I understood that no, I don't want to give away my time. My time is more valuable than the money anyone can pay me for it. And that's when I started living my life.
it's so nice to listen to all this. I just feel that a lot of us want to do this, but really cannot get out of this social structure that we are sort of so deeply ingrained in, that need to have that bank balance, then need to own so many things. Hats off to you to have discovered this side of you at such a young age, and being completely at peace with it. I think it's amazing. You are really exhibiting what balance really means and how do you sort of strike it. So my biggest takeaway from today's conversation is balance for sure. Besides that, thank you so much for your time. I'm sure that there is a lot that our listeners have learned today, and in an absolutely simplified manner. Tell us, where can people find your book? Where can they find you? How can they follow you? If they want to walk this journey with you, is there something that they can do with you?
So, I am indeed a global citizen, but today global means most of the time digital because I don't have a physical place on earth where people can come and meet me. So the only place and the best place where I can be found is digitally. And when I say digital, any and every platform, wherever you are, it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, or any other platform wherever you exist, YouTube or BitClout or anywhere, everywhere I am, with one very simple handle, which is my own name, Akash Ranison, double AKASH Akash, RANISON, Akash Ranison. This is my username, handle, whatever you call it, on each and every website. This is my website. This is my email address, akashranison@gmail.com, or akashranison.com, or instagram.com/akashranison. So it's very simple. Wherever you want, you can find me. How can you download my book? I think the best and easiest way would be to go to the link in bio of my Instagram profile. But if you directly want to go to the website to download it, it's climateaction.akashranison.com, and you can download it for free. It's We are not charging any money for this.
Amazing. I will also give you the link to this book again as part of the description or in our bio as well. Thank you so much, Akash. What would be your parting thoughts to my listeners?
Find out what real happiness is. And if you know what is real happiness, climate change won't happen. You'll be happy. You won't be jealous with anyone because you'll have everything what you'll need.
Also, one fun question that I like to ask my guests is that if you were to print a quote on a t-shirt, what would that quote say?
Take up an idea, make that idea your life, live for it, die for it, ask your every nerve and self to work for it, and that's the only way to success, said Swami Vivekananda.
Well, thank you so much for listening. Do share your feedback and go listen to the other episodes on this podcast. For now, signing off, ethically yours, Darshana.